Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to class 4 on our series on making Chelsea boots on a shoe last. So this is what it is after we pre-lasted it. It looks okay. I've noted a few things that I would like to correct on the pattern. I'll talk to you about that at the end of the video. But for now, let's just show how we coupled all of the components together. As you saw in the previous pictures, we stitched the back seam together. Then we soaked the upper in water in preparation for crimping. Don Judicious, of course, took the class on crimping, so we're not going to talk so much about crimping right here. But let's talk about the lining of the vamp. You could crimp both the lining of your upper and your vamp together when you're making a Chelsea boot, or you could just stitch the center seam of your vamp without having to crimp it. So that's what I'm going to do. Typically, I would love to crimp both of them just so that I don't have any issues. But just to show you that that option is available, I will stitch the lining along the center seams in this tutorial. So, but if you're going to do that, of course, you have to skive properly so that you don't have any bulk on that center by the time you finish lasting. So I skive up quickly. When we are done skiving, we will stitch it together and then go ahead and finish off our lasting. So we stitch. As you can see, up to this point, I'm still using my flatbed sewing machine. In fact, in this tutorial, I'm not going to use a post bed sewing machine. I own a post bed sewing machine, and typically that's what I will use for making Chelsea boots. But just to show you that it is possible to get by without a post bed sewing machine, I will skip it for this class. Now that's our upper cooling off on the crimping board in preparation for final lasting. So while we wait for our upper, which is on the crimping board, to dry out, let's prepare the counter lining. I simply just spread out the counter like so, and then trace out all of its region, including the elastic region as well. So this is a rough outline of what the counter lining looks like. As you can see, I included the area that's supposed to incorporate the elastic. The reason I do that is so that when I'm stitching the counter to the elastic, I do not have any problem of missing any part of the lining or missing the elastic while I am stitching. I'll show you how that plays out when we are stitching the elastic to the lining. But let's prepare. We will go ahead and quickly cut out our linings and then also cut out our elastic. You can see that I'm using scrap leather for this test shoe, but nonetheless it came out well. So there's the lining for the counter. We'll add glue to the top and around the parameters of the elastic and then glue it up. But let's cut out the elastic itself. So if you're making a pair of Chelsea boots, you will need 4 of these elastics. So add contact cement at the top and at the sides of the counter like so. And then just align it upper of the counter to elastic, and then the other side as well. Then we'll add contact cement on the reverse side. Add contact cement to the corresponding part of the counter lining itself. And then simply just align it like so. Once we are at this stage, we'll just go ahead and put it on our flatbed sewing machine and stitch. Let's do that. So I don't know if you noticed, because of the excess material that I added to the lining, I run no risk whatsoever of not catching any part of the lining when I am stitching this elastic to the upper. And if I flip it around, you see that it also comes out very cleanly on the inner side. So when someone takes a look at the inside of your boot, they would only see clean stitches. This way it's easy to trim it out, as you have seen, and then everything looks clean and flush. So let's prepare the upper lining and the upper itself for attachment. I simply just glue the top of the vamp itself to the lining, add contact cement on the remaining side of the elastic, on both sides of the remaining still exposed part of the elastic, then also add on both sides of the upper of the vamp and the lining of the vamp as well. Everything here on in is just intuitive. Just add contact cement to those areas and then simply just couple them as you see happening in the pictures. So make sure that you align everything properly. And then for this first part that still lies flat, as you can see on the reverse side of the lining, you can see that the excess material that I added also helps me so that when I stitch, I do not run any risk of not catching any part of the lining itself. So the upper, the elastic, and the lining all get caught under the sewing machine when I stitch. So I'll stitch it up to this point, and then this is the farthest I can go with a flatbed sewing machine. So I'll trim off that excess material on the lining, and then here on in you would either need a post-bed sewing machine to stitch the other side, or if you do not own a post-bed sewing machine, like I said, the hack you could do is to hand stitch it. Now this class is not a class for hand stitching, but I'll post a video. A friend of mine on YouTube has elaborate videos teaching how to hand stitch leather. Basically, you do what is called a saddle stitch after you have pre-punched your stitching holes. So I'm punching my stitching holes at the moment, and then I'll go ahead and saddle stitch it with 2 needles, and I bet you by the time I'm done you will not be able to tell the difference.
A few moments later. 2,000 years later.
So let's cut out the excess material. Can you tell the difference, ladies and gentlemen? Which is hand stitched and which is stitched on a machine? Can you tell? So there it is. So like I mentioned, there are a few things I noticed about the pattern. At the back area, like so, it's a bit wide. So when I'm correcting this pattern, I would actually bring it in towards the back of the feet a little bit in. Otherwise, the pattern came out as expected. And as you can see, I did all of it on a shoe last. So thank you for watching. God bless you. Like and subscribe, and see you on the next one.